Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Toon Review for today. Well, this afternoon's Newcastle United news. I'm Paul. I'm joined by, of course, Stato. As usual, if you do enjoy the show, please hit the thumbs up and, of course, subscribe. If you are new and you like what you see, it is free to do so. You can support the channel in the usual two ways via membership just underneath this. That's the join button. You can support the channel that way, or of course, Super Chat, which is a $sign in the live chat, which guarantees your comment to be read out on the show. And of course, big thank you to Mamaroo Records for continuing to sponsor the channel. Of course, based in Whitley Bay for all your music needs, for your vinyl, your CDs, your music merch, sport merch, gift cards, etc. If you can't get into Whitley Bay in the town centre, they are online. That is pinned at the top of the description. Good evening, Stato.
Good evening, Paul. The Magpie Massive and everybody in Viewerland.
Now, just to give you an update on our fellow colleague, Billy Trey, he is out of hospital. He is back home now, and he is hoping to make an appearance on Matchday Live on Saturday. So we may well see Billy back on the screens on Saturday, joining me for commentary of Newcastle against Fulham, of course, on Saturday afternoon. So it's fantastic news, and he's in good spirits. So he's looking forward to getting back fit and healthy and getting back on the channel as well. So that was some great news I got from Billy earlier on today. So and he thanks everybody as well for the fantastic messages that he's been sent while he's been poorly. But he is on the road back, which is fantastic news. Now, Alex, there is a lot going on today. Suddenly stories breaking left, right, and centre regarding players leaving Newcastle United. We of course want to have people coming in who new players to the club, but it seems like it's all kicking off now about players leaving. We've got a report that Galatasaray are throwing the hat in the ring to try and get Kieran Trippier in the next couple of days. And in the last hour, literally the last hour, Everton could be putting or interested in Sean Longstaff. Newcastle apparently will sell, and the fee is around £12 million. It's all kicking off.
Well, I mean, let's dissect them one at a time, shall we? So that obviously, I've been quite busy today. I've tried to keep in up to date on everything, but I wasn't aware of the Trippier stuff before. Obviously, I spoke to you backstage. So Galatasaray, Trippier, have we got a reported fee?
12? No, not for Trippier.
So not.
I'll just have another look, but
I mean, yeah, if there's not, there's not. That's an interesting one, but we obviously do have Emil Kraft for the rest of the season. It does concern me a little bit with depth because Trippier is very experienced and useful. It depends on the transfer fee, I think, because obviously we are trying to go for a Champions League push. So I understand the concept of generating a bit ready for a summer push, but there is the risk of maybe letting too many go. That's what collapse our Champions League push. So we've got to be careful. If anything, we're a bit thin now for a Champions League push. Well, we are thin for a Champions League push. So getting rid of even more of our depth, as much as there are certain people that don't like players like Sean and others, we still need players. You know, if we get to a point where we're playing 16-year-olds, we're going to be in the same boat as what Tottenham are in at the moment. So we need to be very careful. So the Sean one, you said 12 million.
12 million, yeah.
I mean, it's one of those, isn't it, where you feel like he's worth more than that because of his age. He's sort of peak age for a player, Champions League experience, good Premier League experience. He's a very solid Premier League player. You think he would fit into maybe not a mainstay in a European team, but probably mid-table to lower mid-table. He's definitely able to play for those kinds of football clubs. 12 mil feels a little bit low, but it's all pure profit. So it's a little bit tempting, especially the fact that Sean, I think we both agree, is maybe last on the midfield choice.
Yeah,
we're thinking Toon Army, Bruno.
Well, we said this before.
Miley and Willock.
Yeah, we said this before, and he's way down the pecking order. But that's the thing that appeals to me, Alex, is the fact that it's pure profit. You know, which will certainly massively help with PSR. I'm reading that Newcastle United have already approved if they come to an agreement. I mean, I don't know whether that means that they've approved it. They may just say to Sean, go and speak to Everton.
Authorized it if they pay the right money, basically.
If
there's any truth in that, then
well,
I'd be okay with that. I think he's worth a bit more. I think you might be able to get 15, 18 for the right bid, but I'd be willing to entertain the
judging
offer,
by all the I've read 3 or 4 reports on this already, Alex, before we went live, and it seems to state to me that Newcastle United are quite happy taking the 12 million. Now that would say to me that they're perfectly happy doing that because of the pure profit issue. Miggy has apparently, he passed his medical with Atlanta apparently, so that is just to be announced probably on Friday when the MLS transfer window opens. Of course, that'll be one of the first deals that's announced, I would have thought. But this is a big risk, isn't it? Because when there's very little linking with any players again today, and we've seen that Eddie Howe has already come out and said we tried to get Kusanov. Juma Bar was another one who was on the radar, but unfortunately, Man City basically pinching all our players. Alex, you might want to move your camera down a little bit. You look like a floating head again. There he is.
I'm slouching.
Yeah,
I'll sit up straight.
Yeah, so it's a worry, isn't it, that if we don't replace, given the squad would then become a little bit threadbare in my eyes, not that it wasn't already.
I think this is pure speculation on my part. I think they're at a point where if they sell a little bit, they'll buy if something opportunistic presents itself, but they'll generally wait for the summer to get the right deals in. However, if we get more through the door, out the door, and we suddenly end up with a little blob pool of money because we might have sold Sean and Trippier and Miggy, that's probably enough to go and get somebody this window. You would imagine they're not going to save all of that for the summer. At least that's I would be expecting that. I would be a little bit shocked if we sold 3 players and didn't bring one in. I think that would be a little bit nuts. It's very risky. Well, and we have actually been linked with a couple more.
Yeah, there's another 2 players linked with leaving as well. Well, Matt Targett to Leeds is another one that's come around today. And of course,
that's one that makes sense.
Juventus is still interested in Lloyd Kelly. So there's 5.
Okay, so, well, it's either Matt Targett or Lloyd Kelly. We couldn't sell both.
I think it would be
one or t'other in that kind of situation.
I agree.
But yeah, I mean, squad-wise, I don't think we need both Lloyd Kelly and Matt Targett right now. I don't think that would derail a Champions League push. I think one of them could go, and it wouldn't be a problem. I think Sean is at the bottom end of our midfielder list. I mean, he meets quotas, but he's at the bottom of our midfielder list. I mean, what are you going to do? If somebody offers a good bid, then yeah. And then Trippier, I prefer to retain him, but again, we do have Emil Kraft in that position as an emergency backup.
I mean, the players have got a decision to make themselves, haven't they? Because they, especially the likes of Sean Longstaff. I think we all said quite a while ago that Everton would be a kind of decent destination for him. We know that David Moyes has said in the past that he was a fan of Sean Longstaff at the various clubs he's been at, but I think, was he not linked with Man United when Moyes took over? I'm sure he was for an exceptional amount of money before he got injured.
Possibly. I can't remember which era specifically that was, but it was around that time.
Yeah. But the point I'm trying to make is Sean's got to take a look at this now and see who's in front of him at Newcastle, because Miley's probably overtook him now as well. Certainly in our eyes as fans, maybe not in Eddie Howe's, but we don't know. But it would seem like a good move for him, really, because I think he'd get obviously regular first team football.
Would he? I don't know if he
would. I
think
he would. I don't think Everton would go in for him if they didn't want to have plans to play him.
I mean, who have Everton got in midfield? I mean, that's quite important to go and see. I mean, they've got Idrissa Gana Gueye, who is a very experienced midfielder.
Yeah, but they're not playing well. They're down the wrong end of the table, and maybe they feel like they need
I appreciate that. So yeah, Idrissa Gana Gueye, Decore. They've got Dwight McNeil and James Garner listed as midfield. Jack Harrison. I mean, Dwight McNeil and Jack Harrison are not going to sit in central midfield. Or Mangala. Yeah.
He's out for the rest of the season, Alex. So he's.
Ooh. Okay. Yeah. Sean makes sense then because, I guess Sean does make sense in that squad.
Yeah.
I could see it. It fits. It definitely does fit.
A couple of super chats. Nick Thornton, thank you. I'll give Longstaff a piggyback to Everton. And Gary Clark says PIF need to build a City-like multi-team model in Europe centred on Newcastle. City proved this window and before it works. They may have plans to do that. Weren't they trying to link up with
by Monaco?
yeah. There was a Belgian team, I think, that they were trying to link up with as well, wasn't there? Back when I think Amanda was trying to do some kind of deal.
It was also the Polish club in the city that I lived in Poland. They're also rumoured to be looking at Śląsk Wrocław in the Ekstraklasa. So there's been a few clubs that have been touted, but we've not really had any progress on that for a while. Or any news.
Yeah. I think, judging by what the chat is saying, I think that everybody seems to be approving of the Longstaff transfer. There's only a few days left, Alex. So if they're going to make decisions on these players and we need to get somebody in before Monday, time is of the essence, isn't it? I said this morning on the show that Newcastle United in the past have tended, take the time on deals, haven't they? They've really sort of
I think they have done, though.
What do you mean?
I think the players that have lined up, I think there's been a lot of groundwork that has been done up to this point. So if something does become available fund-wise, so there's an article that Ollie's put out on NUFC blog, and it's referencing a few of the players we've already talked about so far this season, such as Akliush and obviously Kozanov, who's since gone to Manchester City. Also Ben Seguir, who's at Monaco as well, who's I think more left-sided. So he's suggesting that we've had a lot of scouting movement and people in France this season at Lens, at Monaco. Who else was the other one? There was another club in there, Lille as well.
Lille,
presumably for Jonathan David and players like that. So we've had apparently a lot of resources put into France, and Kuzanov's agent has come out and said that we were pretty close to the Kuzanov deal. So it has a bit of substance to it. It doesn't sound like in the know stuff. It sounds like it's come from agents. We can kind of prove it's not hard for journalists to confirm that people have visited stadiums and matches. That's fairly standard practice. So we can give an educated guess that we're looking at those kinds of players, those kinds of clubs. But we have also got a lot of domestic links with like Tyler Dibbling and Mbeumo and players like that.
Well,
so
I see Tyler Dibbling report again today. But look, some people have mentioned in the chat as well the fact is that Newcastle United, could be looking to offload some of these players to free up a deal for Isak, a new contract, to tie him down. To free up somebody.
I said this Monday, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
I said if we get somebody out the door, I'd rather use that money to give Isak a fat contract and just, it is what it is. I mean, if anybody else kicks off in the squad, you just say, look, he's our main goal-scoring striker who everybody on the planet wants.
Yeah.
You're going to have to suck it up that he's going to get a fat wage packet. It's just how it is. I'd be terrible at negotiations, but surely if you're somebody else in that squad, that is a fair justification. It's got to be, surely.
Look, it's. I'm not worried at the minute because I think whatever's happening at Newcastle United, they seem to know what they're doing, and I'm not going to throw toys out the pram or anything like that yet. Let's just see what happens by the time the window shuts at 11 o'clock on Monday evening. But what I am interested in is, you mentioned there that you were talking about groundwork being done for certain players. Now, if I recall, Eddie mentioned this a couple of press conferences ago. It might even have been his last one when he was talking about bringing players in. He said that if the opportunity should arise, which he's obviously talking about PSR and players going out the other way, we have already done. There's a lot of groundwork on him. We have a list of players that we are interested in. He said that. So I think you're right. I think Newcastle are just waiting. And if they do get some of these deals done quickly, I don't foresee a Sean Longstaff deal to Everton for something like £12 million taking days to complete. It's a simple case of having Sean go and doing his medical deal done. So that would free up money. But we have to act quickly. before other teams jump in and get these transfer targets, which has already happened in this window.
Well, they can't buy everyone.
No, they can't.
They can't. These teams can't buy everyone. So
Yep.
we'll get, as long as we've got a good comprehensive list, we've done our due diligence, we've done our homework on the appropriate players and profiles. One will be available that the clubs maybe aren't quite willing to take a chance on yet, or maybe they're already quite stacked in those positions. Bruno was one that clubs weren't willing to take the risk on at that point. I think when Botman was there, a lot of clubs were already quite stacked at centre half. It depends on the state of the market, the state of the big six, their where they are in their squad build, their squad plan, and their finances. So if we get to a point, let's say Akliush, let's say none of the big six really need a right winger right now, and they've put their finances in other areas, and we go in with a good modest bid, then we've got a really good chance, because a lot of other teams in Europe are not going to be able to compete with our financial might in terms of wages we can offer. But if one of the big boys does decide to rip up their plans and just go, yeah, fine, we'll bid for him as well, and we are buggered. But yeah, that's why we've got to have a good list.
I'll tell you who I heard about today, Alex. Tell from Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
Apparently,
I think
Manchester United are in for him.
But
Man United are in for him as well, and the United stand claim that Manchester United is his number one choice. Of course, it would be coming from the United stand.
I'd rather stay at Bayern Munich.
Yeah, what is appealing about Manchester United right now? But I said this earlier on, Alex, in the show this morning. Why PSR is so screwed up is the fact that and I know PSR hasn't got anything to do with the club's proper debt, right? But they are billions of pounds in debt. And PSR was created to stop teams going into debt. However, they're putting a £30 million in for, I can't remember the player's name, somebody who plays on the left. And I find it astounding, that we are in no debt at all. Yeah, something like that. And we can't buy anybody. And that's where the system is screwed up for me. But, I mean, look, we have to just concentrate on ourselves here and whatever players are available. But we know that we will only target players that are going to fit into the system, Alex. And Eddie spoke about this. There's a lot of players out there, but it's not necessarily, the players aren't necessarily going to fit into what we want to do or how we play the game. So that's why a lot of due diligence had to go into this.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we're at the point now. I mean, I don't know how detailed our recruitment is. Presumably, very with Paul Mitchell and his team. But you can raise the question: what is the criteria of a new signing? Is it going to be somebody with a skill ceiling high enough to then progress with us as we want to start winning titles? Like, are we going to be signing players that are going to be good enough to win titles in 3 years or 5 years? Is that what we're going to try and buy now? Or are we going to try and buy players who are going to help bridge that gap? And then we're going to need another cycle. Where are we at in our recruitment journey? I'm not sure, because we've gone through let's recruit to steady the ship and avoid relegation. Let's try and kick on with exciting young talents. And what's the next plan? Are we trying to get sort of those? Are we still going for sort of 22 to 25? Are we going to start recruiting for maybe Eddie Howe's system evolving? Is it going to be for exactly what we're doing right now? There's a lot of questions that we don't know as fans, the direction that they're going to go in. And this is how they're going to be, it will have been communicated at club level. I mean, I don't know if you saw, but I think Paul Mitchell, I think is recruiting. I think the club are recruiting for
two more. Yeah, two more.
It was one more for something else. I think it might have been with the women's team.
Yeah, it's two backroom stuff.
I think I screenshotted it today. So it is. I don't know if it's got a role, a title, but it's. So the actual job role is. This will be achieved by delivering a comprehensive football plan that aligns with the club's vision and ambitions the director of football will establish and implement the football philosophy, foster player development, ensure the club's competitiveness at all levels, defining and implementing the women's team's overarching footballing philosophy in collaboration with the sporting director and women's management committee. You've also got ensure rigor and efficiency across the sporting directorate. The role will involve diary and communication management and response UK and global travel, note taking, expense management. So it sounds like a really glorified PA that's also
that's what I thought when I read it.
Super good with football and
Yeah.
the inner workings of a club at that level. Tracking progress, creating content for board and other high-level strategic meetings as required. Does that mean setting up the pie charts and bringing
the pie charts up and it does seem like a PA job. It does, but I think it's good. But I think it will appeal to many people. Yvonne says, I saw a show with a younger Isak not getting his play into shape until he came to us. Coaching and mindset within the club is paramount to success. Exactly, which is why I definitely think that Mitchell will have done his homework, but this is if we do let these couple of players go, Alex, this is a big last few days for Mitchell and his staff as well, because it's not going to be Eddie Howe who's going to be responsible for getting these players in. Mitchell and his staff have to go to these potential signings and sell the club and sell the plan and make Newcastle United more appealing to the other clubs that have shown interest.
I don't know. There's a question to that.
I know, but you would assume so. If some of the big clubs around Europe are in for the same players, we have to sell it. We have to sell the plan.
I think it depends on money. It depends on money massively, on what we're able to spend. And I don't know. Maybe the plan is absolutely nothing at all this window. We're doing it in the summer. Maybe that's the plan. Maybe Paul Mitchell's gone to Eddie, look, mate, work some magic and I will absolutely shower you with gifts in the summer, but you're just going to have to trust me. Maybe that's the plan. Or maybe the plan is, if we sell X amount of players and get X amount of money, he will try and make an opportunistic signing before this window closes in January. February. For some reason, it closes in February, but it's the January transfer window. So we don't know what the strategy is. It could. Part of me hopes, I guess we all do, it'd be nice to have a nice shiny new player through this month. It would be lovely because it would maybe help, as Eddie specifically says himself in the press conferences, it's good to have a first team player come through the door every season. It's good for morale. It gives everybody a bit of a boost. Maybe they want to make sure everybody's training properly. It gives you a bit of pizzazz as well, especially if it's an attacking player. It can give you a bit of a push for the rest of the season. So yeah, I think it'd be lovely, but we from the outside in, we just don't know. It looks like they're going for opportunistic only. So I think, personally, my belief is the Miggy sale is not enough to trigger a purchase for us of another player. I think more is going to have to go out the door for us to maybe look at another signing. That's just my gut.
Especially a quality signing. We're not going to get quality for what, shopping in bargain basements. They're going to have to splash out some money. By the way, Arsenal, our old friends in North London there, bid £60 million earlier today for Ollie Watkins, which was turned down out of sight by Aston Villa immediately.
What tin pot bid that is, honestly. Who do they think they are?
Ollie Watkins is an Arsenal fan, so it'd be very interesting to see if there is a slight bit of unrest appears with the player. And suddenly he realizes Arsenal may well be interested in him, and there's a chance of going to play for the team he supports. But £60 million. I mean, he is coming up to 30, Alex, this year, so he's not exactly a spring chicken. And many people think, Ollie Watkins is sort of younger than he's kicking around with 25 or something. He's not. He's 30 this year, which I was quite surprised about.
It depends on the John Duran situation. That's been kind of unfolding all day. People in the chat will know better than me because I've not been able to keep track of it all day. It was between Victor Boniface and John Duran going to Al Nassr in Saudi Arabia. As to then whether, because there's no way they can let Ollie Watkins go and John Duran. So does anybody know how that ended? Because that is obviously the big thing.
There's nothing confirmed about that.
There's nothing confirmed.
No,
okay.
No.
Well, I agree with what you've said. I think Villa would be mental to sell, and they need to keep him. They're in the middle of a Champions League season. They need to retain their best striker. However,
he is starting tonight, by the way, in the Champions League. And
well, yeah, I mean, that definitely may have unsettled him, which unsettled him, if I can speak. I do think, though, for somebody who's about to turn 30, it's a fairly good bid. I think he's worth a bit more, but in the current market, I'd say probably go up to about 70-ish. Somebody saying that Villa accepted 75. Have we got new news, have we? I mean,
I haven't seen anything of Villa accepting 75, I have to say. But listen,
they're not going to accept it halfway through a Champions League match. Yeah, not a chance.
He's playing tonight. They're not going to accept that straight away. I think maybe I think what you've probably reported is if Villa is sort of Arsenal up at the 75, Villa might be interested. You know, it could be something.
We do have an update on John Duran, which then impacts the Ollie Watkins thing. So Romano 1 hour ago, Al Nassr are on the verge of reaching verbal agreement with Villa for John Duran for 75 million euros fee with add-ons. That might be what you were just talking about in the chat.
Yeah.
But formal steps needed, as Al Nassr also have advanced negotiations in place for Victor Boniface with Bayer Leverkusen.
I think the Boniface one has fell through, Alex. Is news very recently. I think within the last 30 minutes it fell through. That's what I can't.
Not from Romano.
No, not from Romano. I can't remember where I've just seen it. Never mind.
Yeah, it's merry-go-round o'clock basically with these kinds of transfers.
Well, it's as we expected, Alex. When it comes to the last few days of the transfer window, then it becomes more intense. Obviously, it's been very quiet now up until this point, but then you get to a point where teams are looking at their league positions now and where they could possibly go this season, challenging or relegation fight, etc. They've now got to do something, and that's when the transfer window starts to roll a little bit, and that's what I'm keeping fingers crossed that we are involved in that somewhere along the line. A couple of super chats. Well, loans are a possibility. Shane Smith says, Keith Downey replied to me when I called him out for small mentality club comment. He apologised and didn't mean offence. Peter Garthwaite says, if we qualify for Champions League, would you bring in a Champions League proven manager, given Eddie Howe's failings the last time? Peter, I think you're being very harsh in saying Eddie Howe's failings. If it wasn't for a dodgy penalty given to PSG, we would have qualified and gone to the next round. So I don't think you could blame Eddie Howe for that. Dear God, I think that's a little bit harsh.
Say failings specifically to the Champions League, or just failings in general?
Giving his failings. What did it say? Is Eddie Howe's failings the last time? So I presume he means the Champions League. We got cheated out. There's no doubt in my mind we got cheated out. I was
quite happy with our fourth place finish, and then our decimated squad still achieving 7th. And getting robbed of a European place by Man United, beating a hungover Man City, and we're on course again for what looks like a European finish if we can sustain things. And he's got us to a cup final, and we went through a dark patch, and then he went on a 9-win streak. So he's clearly learning. So
absolutely. By the way, folks, we've got over 1,800 people watching at the moment across on X and YouTube. If you're on X and you're not watching on YouTube, head across to YouTube and hit the subscribe button, guys. It really does help the channel. And, of course, don't forget to give us the thumbs up if you're enjoying the show. That keeps us in the search results. And if you are watching on YouTube and you're not subscribed, please do so as well as we try and head towards 36K. Don't forget, Monday, of course, is transfer deadline day. It is our all-day charity stream. We stream for 12 hours from 11 a.m. all the way through to 11 p.m. when the window closes. It's a day of fun. It's a good laugh. But the main important thing is that we're raising money for 4 charities. It's the same as what it was in the summer window. We are trying to achieve or trying to look to raise $5,000. We fell just short in the summer. But this time around, we're looking to hit the $5,000 mark to spread across the 4 charities. So don't forget, that's an all day on Monday, which is deadline day. Really, really looking forward to that. My arse isn't, but it tends to become a bit numb by the time 11 p.m. comes on a deadline day. But it is all worthwhile for those special charities that we are raising the money for. So don't forget about that. Now, Darren Eales, Alex, he has responded to the Newcastle United fans. I don't know if you remember last week, the Supporters Trust sent him a letter regarding the season tickets for next season, as they were worried about the prices going up and pricing fans out of getting tickets, etc. And to be fair, Darren Eales has responded. I'll just read what he said. He says, "Dear Newcastle United Supporters Trust, thank you for your recent letter and for raising the important issue of ticket pricing. I want to firstly echo your comments on our incredible supporters. Our teams continue to receive magnificent support wherever they play, and that is a source of immense pride for all of us. Our supporters are what makes Newcastle United truly special. We are committed to growing, sustaining, and empowering that support. We want as many people as possible to feel a deep connection with Newcastle United wherever they are, and to experience the magic of match day, while also recognizing and rewarding the steadfast loyalty of those who follow the team week in, week out. In parallel to that, we are committed to developing teams that everyone connected with the club can be proud of by investing in our talent pathway and by going up against fierce global competition to find, attract, and retain top talent who will drive us forward. That especially challenging with the parameters of profit and sustainability rules. And we have to continue to grow and optimize our commercial incomes to fuel our progress. That has also supported our investment in fans' match day experience and alleviated some of our sharply rising operational costs. It is incumbent on the club to strike the right balance that keeps Newcastle United growing and competing on and off the pitch while ensuring tickets are as affordable and accessible as possible. And that is a challenge that we will always approach with great care and consideration." He does go on to mention, about the tickets rising elsewhere, etc. And thank them for the kind comments about the cup prices and things like that. So in a way, Alex, he's responding and trying to explain that Newcastle will try and keep the prices down. They will not. They aren't trying to, price out the supporters. But there has to be a balance, doesn't there?
Yes. Within reason, it depends how they want to do it. We have to grow revenue because of the way the rules have been written. It's down to revenue, which is why the historically big clubs can be quite negligent and damn right stupid with their finances and get away with it because of just a high revenue off the back of glory days of Christmas past, which is very frustrating for us because we kind of missed the boat on that. We got relegated just as stuff was getting good. But never mind. And it is what it is. We've got to increase revenue somehow. This is an avenue. I think he's tried to suggest that, look, we're going to try as much as possible to keep it reasonable, but it is going to have to go up to a level because it's part of revenue and it's one avenue we can make more money to then go and spend. And I think this is something that Simon Jordan was talking about the other day, and I completely agree with him. We are fortunate in that we damn well know that this ownership group are going to put money into the football club. They're not going to take it out. So anything they're trying to make is going to go towards making it a better club, whether it's infrastructure, competitiveness, players, anything. All of the money is going to go towards making Newcastle United better as a club and as a team. So, I mean, I guess that's one thing. But I think if there are people on the fence, hardworking families, it is hard. But it's the way that they've written the rules, and what are we supposed to do with it? I mean, I get it, but it's a delicate conversation. It's something that somebody who's not from the region, has never had a season ticket, I think I can only say so much on before I'm, overstepping. It's.
I think it's one of these things, Alex, that I think the club are damned if they do, damned if they don't, because a lot of fans probably won't read that letter and won't realise, the issues that there's. It's not just a case of putting the tickets up. It's a case of having to do it for various different reasons.
Well, Pedro's just put it perfectly. Saudis aren't in it for money; they're in it for winning. And that's why I don't mind if my money's. This is why we didn't like shopping under Mike Ashley, because we knew it wasn't going to go towards making it a better football club. Whereas I think now it's the reverse. If we spend money with the club, it's directly contributing to making us a better club. So I don't mind personally when I'm doing it, but I get that people could struggle with it. So it's a very challenging topic.
Yvonne makes a good point as well. So Paul, I just want our club not to cherry pick more portions of the ground to become corporate areas. It destroys the grassroots ambience of the supporters' experience. And I think this is what, you know, I tried to mention on the show this morning, that when I said football is screwed, you know, because of everything going on. And prices as well, you know, pricing fans out of the game. You know, the Wolves fans have already done something very similar with their board and expressed their concern that the normal fan is being priced out of football. And the problem is, if you get more, the normal fans can't afford tickets, you get more corporate tickets going, and it just takes the atmosphere away. And I guess that's what Darren Eales is trying to explain, that they have to be very careful when they make these kind of decisions.
Well, obviously the new stadium talk has a lot to do with, not a lot to do with it, but this is what it's going to progress into.
Well, this is going to be massive, isn't it? Whatever they decide.
Depends on how the distribution of seats, or I say seats, thrones, booths, boxes, whatever we're calling stuff. It depends how they divvy that up in the long run with a new stadium. Are they going to try and, you know, bump the us peasants into like 60,000 seats and then the rest in corporate boxes and stuff? So it's a bit of the best of both worlds. We get an extra 8,000 seats for people who want a standard seat. You know, but then you get more hospitality in corporate as well. So, but then not raising the prices too much of the standard person who wants to go and watch. I don't know. I don't know. That would be the way I would like to see it done. It doesn't mean it's going to go that way. I mean, personally, I always prefer a proper seat, because I think it massively detracts from the general football experience.
I mean,
going hospitality, but.
Yeah, Magpies United in their new stadium will all be about corporate. I don't think it will.
Not 100%. It won't be.
No, obviously there will be a corporate side to it, but there's many. You know, when you're talking about a new stadium, you're talking about a lot of different things corporate wise. You're talking, you know, hotels and other businesses on the same area as the new stadium. There's going to be a lot of corporate inclusion, but from what everybody's just said in the chat, which I agree with, is PIF. You know, and the people that are running Newcastle United right now are genuinely concerned about the fans. They do take the fans into consideration, not like some of these American owners with other clubs who, sorry to Todd Bowley, who I know is in the chat, but some of these people that just, you know, they'll do what they want without taking the fans into consideration. But I genuinely believe, this is just my opinion, I don't know how anyone else feels, but I do feel like if a new stadium or they rebuilt and whatever they're going to do, they will take the fans into consideration, Alex. I don't believe for 1 second that they just don't listen to what the fans' feedback is.
No, I agree. I think that's primarily one of the reasons why they purchased the club in the first place, because they could see that this was a sleeping giant. It's a one-club city with a very unique culture, atmosphere, and a viewpoint on football, and their club specifically. Progressing and destroying it is dangerous. They need to progress, but not lose sight of the reasons they got involved in this project in the first place. You know, but I think they get that. The messages that have come from the club seem to be, look, we do want to progress, but we understand that we need to try and keep the balance. And hopefully we do retain people like Darren Eales. I know obviously he's going to be stepping down because of his illness at some point, but hopefully we do retain people in the club structure that understand that. And they do keep listening to the Supporters Trust. They do the surveys, and they do actually, it's not just a throwaway. They actually listen, because these are the people that go and spend all the money on merch and turn up. This is the reason why we've got the best away fans in the league. It's because of who the fans are. So they've got to strike that balance, otherwise they'll upset people. So
Mick Lowe says, watched Sky News interview Rachel Reeves on about a new runway at Heathrow and backing Man United's renovation of stadium and surrounding areas. Now, this this did come to light to me earlier on today, Alex. I've read a couple of reports about it. And at first, and a lot of people said it was just the surrounding areas. But now all the interviews and things like that are stating renovation of stadium and surrounding areas backed by the government. So it's very confusing as to what we as taxpayers are going to be paying for in Manchester.
I heard exactly the same thing on the radio today at work, that they included stadium renovation in their list, which is not what I thought was part of the deal. So if anything goes into that stadium, I will be personally livid. And I do think we should do some kind of petition, because, I mean, what's the point in having a channel like this if we can't throw our weight around a tiny bit? I do think a petition's getting started, because I do not want a dime of any of my, well, not that we're American, sorry, pennies going towards anything to do with that stadium. That is none of my business. I have no affiliation to that stadium. That is a private thing owned by people in America and Ratcliffe. It's nothing to do with us taxpayers. Fine. If they're going to wing it to do regeneration of the area, there's nothing we can do about that. That's government funding. That's what they do. It's government spending. They can allocate it where they want. But to go and put it into a stadium specifically, absolutely not a chance. All hell will break loose.
Well, I don't think we'll be the only fan channel to bring it up, Alex. I think the whole
it's going to be pandemonium if they actually do that.
Yeah, England. I mean, can you imagine how the Man City fans feel, the Liverpool fans feel about their taxes going to help to renovate or rebuild Old Trafford?
Not a single penny is to go to that stadium. There'll be
absolute hell on.
No way.
There will be hell on. We've got bridges that are literally rotting away in Newcastle and not getting a penny towards them.
I've seen people talking about that, with the Tyne Bridge and stuff.
God, it's mental, man. And then you see that, don't worry, despite the fact you live in Newcastle or wherever it may be in England, don't worry, some of your taxes will go towards the rebuild of Old Trafford. Absolutely ridiculous. I have never heard.
If we find out that any penny has gone to Old Trafford, specifically Old Trafford, no. There's going to be chaos with all other 19 clubs in the league, possibly most of the football pyramid. Because look at all the grassroots clubs. You've got non-league clubs, National League North, South, National League, all the way up the 4 leagues of the top divisions. You've got clubs that need help, and it's unacceptable. The amount of money that the ownership have got. We've already had Chelsea just get all of their debt pardoned, and then they went and abused that and went and spent another £1 billion on transfers. So there's no more handouts, because it's been, everybody just takes advantage of it. So there's got to be a line drawn in the sand. No.
I mean, it's because they're calling it the Wembley of the North. So we've got 2 fantastic stadiums. But Manchester is not north. It's northwest. There is teams further north than Manchester. But of course, as usual, everybody forgets about us up here in the northeast. It's just, we may as well be in Scotland, for God's sake. It's ridiculous, man. But I agree. I think there'll be absolute hell on if people's taxes are going to build the Manchester United stadium. Anyway, I gather you got a few points to bring up as well tonight, Alex.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the Opta predicted league finishes was quite interesting.
Yeah.
It might be better to screen share this possibly if you guys want to see it. Might be a better idea. I am doing this straight off of that's my camera. I need that. Let's keep that on, shall we? Let's do the screen share. There we go. There it is. So this is the Opta. So this is kindly from Ollie from NUFCblog.co.uk.
Could you zoom in for us, Alex? There you go.
Yeah, zoom in a little bit more. It's a little bit small. So that is the... Oh, it won't let me zoom in anymore. There you go. So that is the top half predicted finish as of... I mean, where have we got the introduction? The statisticians at Opta. This is the supercomputer. This is what they think we're going to finish. So they think we are most likely to finish in 4th place.
Champions League, woohoo!
A 34.66. Oh, it won't let me highlight that. Never mind. A 34.66% chance of finishing in a Champions League place, although 5th is probably on point for it. They do think Chelsea are basically at the same odds as us to get that sort of 4th or 5th place. So Europa League, 19.71%. And they don't seem to think we're going to drop out, unless I'm misreading this. It's down at 0% for Conference League, and 0% for relegation. So I should damn hope we're not going to get relegated. We're pretty much at 40 points, aren't we, already? So
yeah, I think we can safely say that's not going to happen.
Expected points at 65. I mean, what did we get? What did we get? Hang on. Ignore the Fulham research, guys. That's tomorrow. It's tomorrow's show.
While you're doing that, I'll just read a couple of super chats out, Alex. Gary Clark says the only throne any of us had under Ashley, Asshat Ashley, was porcelain. Nick Thornton says the Glazer and Ratcliffe are both tax exiles, funneling all of their money through offshore accounts to avoid UK taxes, and they want taxpayers' money. I mean, the Glazers have got the money to build everything themselves. They're billionaires, for God's sake. But anyway, sorry, Alex, carry on, mate.
I was just curious as to how many points we got in our Champions League season. So it was 71. God, we didn't have a good finish to that year, did we? We definitely could have finished a lot higher than that.
We spluttered over the line, remember? The last game against Leicester was, well, the last home game, of course.
Oh, yeah, with Nick Pope getting the last-minute save in, yeah.
Yeah.
We really should have finished above Man United in that season. So we got 71 points. And this supercomputer is predicting we're going to have 65, but it is apparently going to be enough. Interestingly, for other teams in this, they do think, I mean, this seems pretty samey. They seem to think Forest are going to have a drop off, City are going to recover, Villa and Bournemouth are going to stay up quite high. I mean, I think this is fairly logical. And then down here we have, let's ignore the adverts. Manchester United in 12th. So they don't seem to think they're going to recover too much, and they're going to finish on 49 points, which is ha. Spurs, they think also aren't going to recover. 15th.
I mean, they Spurs, as we stand right now, are definitely in a relegation battle. Nobody can convince me otherwise. They are, but I know they've got a lot of injuries, but I think they're going to have to do something very special to get out of it. But as you say, the supercomputer doesn't think it will.
Well, a few people in the chat correctly, in my opinion, suggesting to not write Bournemouth off. I mean, we can't control what Bournemouth do or don't do. We've just got to keep playing our games. But yeah, I would agree. I think if with people to come back from injury, if Bournemouth can sustain their current form, they could be a sneaky little team. We've got to be careful because if Forest keep the points accumulation going and Bournemouth keep doing well, we've suddenly got to try and swat off Man City, Chelsea, Forest, Bournemouth. It's going to be an absolute mental end to the season, but I mean, that's good, right? I guess it's a competitive league. So
I think that's what we all want to see. We all want to see it competitive, but also fair. So we'll see how that one works out. But it is, I mean, listen, we'd snap the hands off for that now, wouldn't we? 4th place finish.
Well, I think when you talk about fair, I think we've just been quite fortunate that all of the some of the clubs that do lavishly spend have gotten it so wrong, they're just crap. So like Manchester United have lavishly outspent everyone, but are down in 12th. So they're kind of not in this conversation because of their own just poor general running of the club. Spurs, a little bit more difficult to figure out exactly what's going wrong with them. Lots of injuries.
Well, of course, the thoughts with Spurs, if they do get rid of Postecoglou, if they pull the trigger in the panic, then there was a lot of rumours swirling around the football world that they would turn to Areola at Bournemouth. Now, personally, I don't see. I know Tottenham are a much bigger club than Areola or whatever it is. Areola.
Areola is something very different. He's also the goalkeeper for West Ham.
Yes, but it's very similar, Alex. It's Areola, whatever. However, what I'm saying is that there is rumours kicking around that obviously Tottenham would try and poach him. But at the minute, I mean, if you were him and Tottenham approached you, given Bournemouth's situation right now, what would you do? Because it would be very interesting decision, that.
No, he'll be fine. Iraola doesn't have to go anywhere right now. I think he's proved his competence. Even if
I agree.
Now, he's proved his competence, and I think he's proved he's ready to maybe have a crack at I hate this because it's what we whinge at when people and pundits say this. I think he's ready to have a crack at a bigger job. Oh. Horrible. I feel sick saying that. But yeah, I mean, we obviously Bournemouth fans. I'm so sorry if anybody's watching. Of course, we would love him to just progress Bournemouth as a club and just for it to be quite organic and natural. But we know it's not how the football world works at the moment. So if somebody super big does come and stick a fat contract on the table, he might be tempted. So might Bournemouth be.
I mean, it's the potential of working under Daniel Levy, of course, isn't it? I mean, they've got that to consider as well. How much support do they get from this man? He's a bit of an idiot. Trevor says Chelsea did the same with Potter when he was doing well at Brighton. It doesn't always work. I mean, that was.
I think that could have worked. Yeah. They were impatient.
Yeah.
But Graham Potter is a project manager, like a long term. We want to build an identity and go in this direction, and they just pulled the plug after like months. It was a ridiculous. Like, don't sign him if you're not going to be able to put up with those teething problems. It's literally what he does. So that's not. I don't think that's on Potter. That's on Chelsea just being Chelsea.
I mean, Paul makes an interesting point there. You know, it's great for Bournemouth at the minute because they are desperate for a new stadium, aren't they? Because,
11,000.
It's tiny.
What, is it still called the Vitality Stadium, or is it changed?
I think it's the Vitality still, yeah. But I think they would... I know from watching previous interviews with their owners, that is a long-term goal for Bournemouth. Of course, Mark, who is a Bournemouth fan and a big long-term subscriber to this channel, this is what the Cherries fans are scared of. Iriola moving on. That's natural. I mean, look, when the England job came around, Newcastle fans were worried about losing Eddie Howe to England. So, of course, the Bournemouth, a club of Bournemouth's size and stature, doing so well. And let's be honest, they're playing some incredible football right now, beating us 4-1 and thumping Forest 5-0. It don't get better than that. And they are flying right now, but there's always that worry in the back of the fans' minds that a big club will come calling eventually.
I think they just need to keep doing what they're doing. Unfortunately, being Bournemouth is very much like playing Football Manager in that it's the long game. It really is the long game. You've got to look at what Brighton have done with how much money they've brought in through player sales and just being really smart. They've not tried to overcommit to breaking into that European bracket and then falling away and getting relegated. They've managed to sustain just really good recruitment, fairly good style all around. I think Bournemouth need to keep doing that so that they can then build new facilities, new stadium, keep pushing. It's going to be a marathon for a club like Bournemouth. We've done it in a different way in that obviously Newcastle was a traditionally much bigger club, huge stadium, and just a huge fan base, which really does help. But Bournemouth are going to have to do this over the next 10 or 15 years. I mean, to be fair to Bournemouth, I think it's fair today. If you think about the Premier League in the last decade, Bournemouth is part of that in everyone's minds. They are a Premier League standard club, and they've been part of the Premier League setup for about a decade. So they deserve to be in these conversations. They've done the hard work. So it's just time. We've kind of skipped the queue a little bit, us and Villa, with slightly different owners. Saudi Arabia, Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia want to win everything.
By the way, I've just more on this Ollie Watkins situation. I've just looked at the Chronicle.
It's more.
Newcastle United dread Ollie Watkins' impact after 60 million Arsenal transfer claim.
Lee, mate, what are you writing?
What? Well, this is actually by James Quinlan.
Sorry, Lee.
So it's not Lee Ryder. And it states that obviously, if they do sign Ollie Watkins, it would have it could have a detrimental impact on next week's second leg. Now, I'm not. Is he not cup tied?
He would most certainly be cup tied, surely. Who are we talking about? Ollie Watkins specifically, whether he's played for Villa in the previous cup rounds?
Yeah, I don't know whether
Ollie Watt. I mean, I can tell you in like 30 seconds whether that's true or not.
But why put a headline like that? I mean, who from Newcastle has come out and said, "Oh, we're dreading if they sign Ollie Watkins"? We're 2-0 up at home. Why would we be terrified if Arsenal sign Ollie Watkins?
I mean, I think he's actually right. I don't think Ollie Watkins has played a Carabao Cup fixture.
That's interesting.
I think he's been rested.
Oh no, it says here, as Watkins did not appear for Villa in the competition against Wickham in the third round or the fourth round elimination to Crystal Palace, he is therefore not cup tied and would be eligible to play.
I'm looking at Ollie Watkins' previous fixtures this season. He doesn't come up as having played in the Carabao Cup. Oh, he played in the FA Cup fixture against West Ham, but not in the. So I mean, yeah, okay.
But
right.
why would Newcastle dread it? Why would somebody report that? And again, it's just so. Yes, he's a good striker. He will make a difference to Arsenal. But we just have to take care of ourselves. It's not like I don't think Eddie Howe will be sitting there going, "Oh no, they're going to sign Ollie Watkins. That's terrible. That's us."
Although Lynn's saying that he wouldn't be eligible because he wasn't eligible for the first leg. I mean, there might be some that might have legs. I don't know. Have you got to be been at the club because for a 2-leg tie, that's quite a specific interaction.
It says in that report if they sign him on time before the window, he will be eligible to play.
I don't know, but that doesn't mean that they've checked that correctly. I would prefer to do my own.
Well, given the fact that they think that Newcastle United have now dread Ollie Watkins signing, I don't know who at all from the club would actually come out and say that.
I mean, we beat Villa this season as well, so bring it on.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, there you go, folks. Thank you very much for tuning in tonight. It's been a very, very good show. Great conversation. Nearly 2,000 people watching on both platforms, which is incredible for a Wednesday night. Thank you so much for your support again.
You're amazing.
It is a Wednesday. Yeah, incredible. Thank you. Please do subscribe if you are new to the channel and you like what you see. And, of course, give it the thumbs up because it does really help us in the search for Newcastle fan channels. It puts us up there. So thank you in advance for that. Thank you for your super chats and, of course, memberships. And thank you to the mods and Alex. But the biggest thank you to you guys out there watching. Thank you so much for your support. And again, thank you to Mamaroo Records for sponsoring the channel. Again, if you can't get into Whitley Bay to see them in store, check them out online, which is pinned at the top of the description. I'll be back at 11:30 in the morning. And then, of course, at 7 o'clock tomorrow night, we will have the Fulham match preview. So plenty still to come this week on the Toon Review. But enjoy the rest of your Wednesday evening, folks. And we'll see you all again tomorrow. Good night.
Away the lads and lasses.
Come back and check out some